Today we have Tracey Tee on here with us, and I don't know if
I thought you were going to say Tracy with a T, but it's actually Tracey Tee.
And I don't know if we reached out to you or you reached out to us, but we know that we are very interested in this topic. She is a creator and steward of Mums on Mushrooms, which is a community for mothers offering multiple offerings for working with healing through the sacred use of microdosing plant medicine. We feel like everybody is talking about microdosing, and to be totally honest, Kat and I don't even know what that means. You are going to have to tell us a little bit more about what you do before we get into our specific questions.
Yeah, thank you. So I microdose magic mushrooms, and when I started working with this medicine, I really felt like it was something that could truly heal moms and bring moms together and really get moms talking in community. And so I created an online community. We have a private membership that's kind of like Facebook for Moms on Shrooms, but off social media, totally private. No gurus, no experts, just moms talking and learning about this medicine. And then we have courses so you can create your own intentional microdosing practice. And that's pretty much what we do.
Okay.
I love that that you have like a community. We have one for parenting, not for mushrooms, but I'm beginning to rethink my lifelong careers because that sounds real fun.
Well, I feel like to be honest, when Kat and I were in high school, we did like 8 mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I remember getting kind of fucked up. Like I think
I only did like once or twice because I did not like
I didn't like the taste of it. Tasted like throw up.
Oh, they're the worst. The worst.
Now it's like everybody's got these capsules and they're just microdosing. And from my perspective, I have had them before, but I've always been also drinking, so I don't know what it feels like.
I also have to ask you one thing, because there's a lot of stories in the news right now about people like
the pilot
going crazy on mushrooms.
Murder.
I don't remember that ever being in our genre. So is that something that is new to this world, or would that have been our experience when we were back in high school doing them illegally? Like, do you know what I mean? Is it the same thing or are they different?
Yeah. Okay. So let's back it up and talk about a couple things.
Yeah, let's do that.
So microdosing. Okay. So psilocybin is the psilocybin is the psilocin is the psychoactive product or the compound inside magic mushrooms, and that's what makes you hallucinate. So microdose, and that's why, and you know, those of us who I never did shrooms until I was in my 40s, but those of us who did, you know, took magic mushrooms at a concert or in high school or whatever, you know, a lot of science is coming out around set and setting. And so it is very easy to get super fucked up on shrooms because you are hallucinating and you are in an altered state of consciousness and everything is sort of amplified. So imagine that there's really loud music, or maybe like loud and aggressive music, or like there's a lot of people and it's crowded. Of course, that can amplify like whatever state of stress or heightened stress that you're in. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of us didn't have great experiences, but I think what we're learning now, and especially learning from the 60s, like dropping acid from the sky, is that taking LSD or magic mushrooms, but with a reason and kind of more for healing and not necessarily as recreational use, it changes the entire experience. So I have tons of moms who are like, oh yeah, I used to trip all the time in college. How is doing a large dose journey different? And it's completely different. It's like drinking Boone's wine in college and then buying a really great $100 bottle of Cabernet and like eating it with a delicious meal with people that you love. Like you cannot even compare.
Okay.
So that's that's very, very basic of magic mushrooms. Now microdosing is.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So microdosing is taking a sub-perceptual amount of psilocybin so that you're not high. And the theory is that when you take small amounts sort of consistently over time, it has the same neurological effect on our brains as a therapeutic intentional high dose journey does, where we're seeing people walk away from a large dose journey and stop drinking or quit an addiction or, you know, have these major breakthroughs with trauma. or grief. If you do it over time.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
This is for like cool.
So much.
Okay, this is for me. Is it sort of like an equation to CBD versus marijuana, like taking out the thing out of the marijuana, like in terms of what you're taking out, so it gives you one thing and not the other?
Out, it's just doing a really low dose.
Yeah, you're not taking anything out. That's correct. You're not taking anything out, but you're taking a low dose, so low that you're not feeling any of the perceptual like hallucinogenic effects. So for example, typically you start feeling like hallucinatory effects, psychedelic effects, maybe walls are moving, you're starting to see things around 1 gram plus. A lot of people who take large dose journeys, that's like 3 grams plus, 3 grams. A microdose is anywhere between 50 milligrams and 200 milligrams. So, the max of a microdose, I think, is like 1/4 of 1 gram. So you're not having any of those experiences.
Okay, so you're telling me that you just take a little teeny tiny capsule.
Yeah.
And then it does it doesn't do the same thing as the big guns. It just does it as it just gives you a little something.
Yes. And over time, it allows you to kind of peel back those same onion peels, like layers, but not like in one big massive boom for 6 hours on the floor crying.
And do you do it every day?
Okay, that's such a good question. So this is what's so interesting about microdosing. It's a lot of unlearning what we think about medicine as we come to it from like the Western mindset. So no, you never want to microdose every day. The most you really want to microdose is 5 days a week, because you want to integrate sort of the lessons and the new way of acting that you've learned. You want to do it without the medicine, so that's where, we hear people talking about neuroplasticity and your kind of brain changing. You want to take the lessons that you learned on a microdose. Say you learn, for example, for me, from a mom perspective, one thing that really helped me with microdosing is just being less reactive. Okay. I just don't get as upset about the irritating things of mom life as much as I used to. So when I don't microdose, I'm applying that same non-reactivity without any help from anything. I'm just doing it on my own. And that is how we're reprogramming ourselves.
So you're building a new habit and you're building new pathways. Oh God, I don't have to go to the doctor anymore. I have to get my kids microdose.
I know. And do you get, do you eventually think that you'll learn so much that you won't take it?
Yeah. So, one of my good friends, her name is Dr. Julia Meyer. I asked her, like, what does she see for the future of microdosing? And she said, I'd like for us all to think of microdosing as a round of antibiotics for intrusive thoughts.
Wow.
And like, if you can just think of it as like, when you create a relationship with the medicine and you create an intentional practice, then it's kind of like a lifelong relationship. And then you use it until you don't need it anymore. And really you're relying on your intuition. And then when you do need it, whether it's either from like a creative standpoint, I'm going to work on this creative thing, I'm going to write a book, I'm working on this big project at work, whatever, or I'm going through something right now and I need this aid, you go back and you take a round of it and then you let it go.
Okay. Let's take a quick break because I need to know, can you do that with the intention of sex?
Okay. Yeah, you really can. It's a big one. And I'm just I'm going to say right now that
is this the horny pill we all have been looking for?
It's not necessarily the horny pill, but it's calming those frayed edges that are barriers to walking up to a really juicy experience. And I think that orgasms are a lot better, is all I'm gonna say.
Can you sleep on this? Like, do you have to like monitor when you go, like when you take it?
Also a great question. A lot of women actually take it at night and it helps them sleep.
And are they getting the intentions during the day, like at nighttime?
Yeah.
Like, is it healing you at nighttime while you sleep?
Yeah. And then you're waking up with this like more regulated nervous system. You're waking up in a calmer state. Hopefully your sleep is got better. And I'll be totally honest, I'm not a great sleeper, and that microdosing doesn't really help me. Taking it at night doesn't really change much, but a lot of women in our community take it at night. They have this deeper sleep. Their dreams are more vivid. And then they're waking up in this like grounded, again, more like regulated state. And then they're using those lessons throughout the day.
If as a mom, I take it in the morning, this is my most curious thing is, what am I going to feel differently than how I feel right now?
So a true microdose, you're really not going to feel, I guess the best way to describe it is how you feel when you have a really delicious cup of coffee. Like, you know, it's there, but it's not changing any of your abilities to drive, to work, to talk, you know, to do any of the things. Like, it's just sort of there. And it's like, I like to describe microdosing. I actually really think like mushrooms are like, it's almost like energy too. It sounds super woo, and I hate talking about it like that, but it's almost like when you microdose, they're like little helpers that like push your butt up over a fence, but you're still climbing up over the fence. You're still in total control. So you're not like, oh, you know, again, oh, you're not seeing rainbows and unicorns in the sky. You can absolutely drive your kids to school.
Is it
That's
legal?
if you're doing it safely and like watching your dosage.
So if you are driving your kids to school, you get into an accident,
A fender bender.
and they check your blood, and would it be illegal what's inside of you?
Yes. I mean, it's still unfortunately considered a Schedule 1 drug federally in America.
Okay.
So yeah. I will say, you know, yes. We'll just say yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then how do you know if you've taken too much? Like, are you like, whoa, that was way too much?
Yeah. You'll know. I mean, you'll know. And so I always say, first of all, like, more than anything, start low, go slow. Like, start at 50 milligrams, and sometimes that's plenty. Sometimes 25 milligrams is plenty. Like, there's no need to rush into this. I mean, we've all made it this far without shrooms just fine. So we don't need to just go out and like start, you know, throw down a handful of capsules down our throat right away. You really want to really take your time, feel how it is in your body. And just like anything we put in our body, there's so many factors. Caffeine can actually heighten the effects of psilocybin. So if you're an avid coffee drinker, you should probably take less. Or for me, I found when I started microdosing, I just didn't need coffee anymore. I just quit coffee. Like,
what about like Vyvanse or like any of the other drugs you're on, like the other ones? You probably have to know about that too, right?
You do. There, you know, the good thing about psychedelic mushrooms, magic mushrooms, is there aren't a ton of contraindications with other medicines. If you're on an SSRI, I mean, the idea is that those, or Adderall, that an intentional microdosing practice actually helps replace the need for some of those prescribed medicines, but you should absolutely like work with your doctor, titrate off if you're feeling called to titrate off those medicines. And if you decide to take those medicines and also take and try microdosing, sometimes you need a little bit more because there's a blunting effect caused by the prescribed medicines. But that
you ever like
your doctor?
You know, like a lot of people just like have a glass of wine on a weeknight, but then sometimes they party and they drink a lot and get drunk. Yeah. Sometimes do you take more mushrooms to have more of the effect?
Yeah. Because it's so much better than alcohol. Yeah. And there's no hangover. It's just joy. You're still very much in control. I mean, where alcohol is like a closer and a depressant, magic mushrooms are like an expander and a heart opener. So you're just more in your heart space and you're feeling more connected and more like fun. I mean, music sounds a little bit better. Food tastes a little bit better. People are a little bit more delightful. And you don't have any of the after effects of like the toxicity of alcohol. Like, in terms of toxicity between alcohol and shrooms, there's no comparison. There's a chart that's, I forget the institution that put it out, but alcohol is the number one most toxic drug, and psilocybin's like all the way down here at the bottom. So you can totally take recreational doses, and sometimes I get shit for it because I do really believe you should use it intentionally and responsibly, but also there's a lot to be said about just having some fun. And as moms, like you guys are the perfect example of that. I mean, you embody like going out and having fun and giving moms permission to have a good time. And I just don't think there's anything wrong with being responsible and taking some shrooms and going to a concert.
So you don't take the same one to go to bed that you do to have fun.
There's more of it.
You just take more. Exactly. Yeah.
So it keeps you awake. One makes you sleep.
No, it just, when you increase the dosage, you increase those psychedelic effects. So where in a microdose, you're not going to feel any of that. And the more you increase, especially if you go up to like a gram, when you're going into that very hallucinogenic state, you're going to get that full body high. You're going to feel different. You shouldn't drive. You shouldn't, you should be in a safe place, just like you should if you're drinking, more than one glass of wine. And so it's just the effect is different. And there are different strains of magic mushrooms. And there's a lot of really interesting discussion going on about like what strain does what. And I find that fascinating. I mean, there's literally thousands of strains of functional and psychedelic mushrooms.
Which ones? Yeah. How do you know which ones to do?
I think just empowering yourself with knowledge.
Who's selling them?
That I cannot talk about.
So, I mean, like, if they're not legal, but it's not legal.
It's decriminalized in Colorado where I live. And then there's some other city, and it's decriminalized in Oregon. And then there's a bunch of other individual cities around the country. There's a bunch of cities in Michigan, Massachusetts, California that are decriminalizing it.
Are you looking at that?
When my friends sent this to me before, they said it's not a felony, but it's also not legal. That's why shops are able to stay open without police raiding them, but they can't have legit businesses or charge tax, etc.
You can in Colorado, when it's decriminalized, you can gift it, you can gather it,
my God,
and you can grow it. And the one thing that people don't really realize is it's actually very easy to grow your own mushrooms.
Do you?
I don't, because I think I would be so obsessed with it. That's all I would do all day. Because
my gosh,
pretty fun.
How long if I take it, how long is it going to be? How long am I just going to feeling if I'm taking a low one, just like a microdose? How long am I feeling it?
Well, probably if you're feeling anything, let's say we're going to use a cup of coffee example. You might feel it between like 3 to 6 hours, depending on how sensitive, again, it depends on if you've had coffee, how much you ate that day, all the things, how much water you're drinking, your metabolism. But it's not like even like Advil where you take it and you're like, my headache's gone. And then you can feel it wear off, and your headache comes back or your cramps come back. It's not like that. It's so gentle. And it's more like stretching out the good stuff inside you and kind of I don't even want to say amplifying it because that makes you think you can really feel it, but it's just it's just softening everything and just making everything a little bit more chill and good.
Would kids ever use it?
That is a really big discussion. I just came back from a psychedelic conference in Miami from this weekend, and there was a discussion about on a panel I was on talking about, do we ever see a future where microdosing especially might replace Adderall? And I think the jury's out. As we know, there's just not a ton of science, and it's actually there's not a lot of longitudinal studies even about microdosing because there's so many factors you have to put into place. You'd almost have to have like everyone move into a house and eat the same food and take everything exactly the same to quantify it. And there's a lot of discussion about brains maturing and does that hinder or help a maturing brain? And we know now that there's a lot of negative side effects to things like Adderall, and we're seeing mental health crisis in kids. And we know that our indigenous elders and our indigenous sisters and brothers do actually and have over many periods of time given small doses of many psychedelic drugs to like adolescents, either as a rite of passage. So there's anecdotal proof out there. I couldn't possibly comment on whether it is. I mean, I hope that there's studies, because I think what I see anecdotally among mothers, it would be amazing, option potentially.
Okay. Tolerance. So as alcohol, what might affect one person with one glass and might make someone off the rails with, there's like me and 2 team members who get always feel like I can feel it at one glass, one alcohol, and I feel it. Is this the same thing with shrooms, mushrooms, whatever we call them?
That's where you go low and slow.
That's right.
Yeah, but what if 25 gets me off my rocker?
I would say 25 milligrams probably wouldn't get you. I mean, having just spoken with like hundreds and hundreds of mothers at this point, I would say like that would probably not. But for anything that you're going to try for the first time that might have an effect that would, limit your perception or ability to like operate machinery, I would just say, do it on a day where you don't have to drive, where you can be home, where you can lay down and take a nap if you need to. But
If it's overwhelming.
if it's overwhelming, yeah.
What if you're like, okay, I don't know all of the things that you offer in your business, but like, if someone's afraid to try for the first time, like how can they do it and almost be like handheld through it so they don't have to be alone?
Like a shaman. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, either tell your partner and just have your partner on hand, or go over to a girlfriend's house. Maybe if you're having a weekend away with your girlfriends, take a very small dose together and just know that you're in a safe space. And I also, more than anything though, it's so funny, but if I feel like this is super woo, but I feel like the medicine, you'll just know if it's going to be okay. I mean, I'm a perfect example. Never did anything. I mean, I drank, I'm from Colorado, smoked my fair share of weed, didn't really love it, but like never did ecstasy with my friends in college, never did cocaine when I was bartending in Los Angeles, never did anything until I was 44 years old, did my first shrooms, and I just knew I'd be okay. And I do think that if you really listen to your heart and your intuition, and mothers especially, you're going to make the right, safe choices and just be responsible about it. And there's plenty of information out there. There's plenty of information on Moms on Mushrooms, to make you feel like you have enough broad understanding. And again, go low, start slow.
So you have to go in your brain and know you're okay. Like you can't be nervous and do it.
Well, I mean, I don't think being nervous and doing anything is helpful, right? Like it always affects everything. But I think especially with microdosing, that's the point, is that you're eliminating a lot of those factors of things that you're not going to have a trip at all. So you're not going to have a bad trip. You may feel, again, like you drank a little too much coffee. A lot of times people with excessive anxiety, sometimes microdosing helps women with a lot of anxiety, and sometimes it can actually amplify it. So again, it just all goes back to just going slow.
Yeah, I'm not babysitting you. She goes,
there won't be any babysitting.
She goes, can I do it? And you'll watch. I'm like, no, we need a third party. We need a third party.
Well, I had a friend be like, you're going to come to my house. We're going to sit in the living room and we're going to do it together. And she's like, you're going to love it. Cause I don't really like weed. I don't like the feeling of that.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
I think, and you can eat a meal. Like it's hard to describe because we just don't have a lot of context as a culture, but we've all drank one too many glasses of wine, and you kind of just know how to ride that out, right? Like, the things to do. And if that happens, it's sort of similar.
Okay. What about some, bad questions? Okay. Like fentanyl, does it ever get into magic mushrooms shroom? Like what are the dangers? Yeah.
Yeah. Fentanyl, I think certainly if you grow your own, then you never have to worry about that. I think, traditionally, because mushrooms are one ingredient, just the mushrooms, that there's not anywhere to put fentanyl in it. I don't know a ton about street drugs, but you can test it for sure. There's a company called Dance Safe where you can test your medicine, and you absolutely should. What was your next question?
Oh, dangers. Is there anything where it's that one company was selling something that was not what it, are there anything that you've heard of where people are like, well, that was not a great trip? Can you ever make a bad decision? Can you ever not come off a trip? Can you ever not if your mental health is on the cusp, we should not be doing this?
That's a great question. So absolutely, if you've been diagnosed 100% with bipolar 1 or schizophrenia, or then you should absolutely not do psilocybin. Don't do it. Not worth it. It just because it's dealing with your neurons and your synapses in your brain. And we know that those with bipolar 1 and schizophrenia are not good candidates to ever take psychedelics or psilocybin specifically. If you have even first generation, so a parent or a sibling has been diagnosed with bipolar 1 or schizophrenia, it's not recommended that you do it. And if you decide you're really feeling like this might help you if you're in a mental health crisis, then I would say 100% pursue a MD or a therapist who has extensive, experience with bipolar or schizophrenia and psychedelic therapy and do it that way. In terms of, can you ever come off a trip or like never? So the idea that this is our brain on drugs, frying an egg, where everyone's jumping off buildings, has a lot of misinformation that our government has just siphoned for the last 50 years. Right now, since like 1950, there's been 3 recorded deaths directly attributed to psilocybin. 3. Alcohol kills 400 people a day. Alcohol kills 400 people a day, and there's 3 deaths. What we know is that you cannot overdose on psilocybin. You can't OD. Now, you can take too much and your brain can click. You don't want to take a lot. You can have mental health effects, but in terms of overdosing, like someone can either drink too much or overdose on pills.
Yeah.
That's not actually possible. Your body just doesn't react that way.
I heard that a lot of the most successful creative CEOs, you probably maybe know what I'm going to say, but I remember someone telling me about this, have all been microdosing, and because I guess it expands their mind beyond other people, and so they've been able to get further in their careers and in whatever they're creating. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, psilocybin, psychedelics have always, been attributed to expansive like creativity. And I can just from personal experience, I find it to be, I'm a writer. I find it so helpful when I'm writing. It just, again, it expands your mind. I feel like a channel is open and I'm not self-censoring so much anymore. Mm-hmm. So those negative thoughts, those limiting thoughts that come into our mind and tell us, don't do this, don't try that, they just kind of take a back seat and you're able to just like step into your creative power. And we've had moms that are like, I've started microdosing. I'm painting again. I'm playing my guitar again. I'm writing music again. It's just, some of the best music on the planet has been written under the influence of psychedelics. Yeah, it's just a creative conduit.
And mushrooms are natural. They're a natural.
They're one ingredient from the ground, from the great mother, from Mother Earth. It grows in the ground and that's it. There's nothing else in it. You can add, a lot of people talk about stacking right now. What's that? Okay. So stacking is when you include psychedelic mushrooms usually with functional mushrooms. So for example, lion's mane, which is a mushroom you can get at the store that I think every mother on the planet should take lion's mane every single day of her life. It is so good for brain health. It clears the brain fog. If you're perimenopausal or menopausal or postpartum, it like saved my life.
What is it recommended for Olivia? It's a vitamin.
It's a vitamin.
It's a vitamin.
It's a mushroom.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take it in a tincture. I like it in a tincture. Again, it's a
tincture,
in a dropper.
What does it taste like?
I don't know, like whatever, nothing. I put it in my coffee. You can't really, it's great. And it's just a functional mushroom. So some people take other functional mushrooms with the psychedelic mushroom. And it just like boosts, it's just like a big wellness.
Wow.
Why isn't it legal?
I don't know. Honestly, if I wanted to sound conspiratorial, I think it's actually too healing. And I think it would eliminate a lot of things.
The drug companies.
Yeah. I have good friends. I have a really good friend, Melissa Lavasani, who runs the Psychedelic Medicine Coalition, who is up in DC lobbying at the federal level to get this legalized. She was a mother postpartum who was driving by buildings wondering if it was high enough for her to jump off of so that her husband could find someone else to raise her kids. Ooh. She did an ayahuasca. She first started marketing.
I was going to ask you about ayahuasca.
Yeah, she did. She first started, I can't remember actually. I think she first started microdosing and then she did an ayahuasca ceremony and then went back to microdosing. No drugs, no SSRIs, changed her life completely. And, we've also had mothers that we've lost to suicide who are on pharmaceutical drugs. We all have friends who struggle with mental health. And this is healing, and not only magic mushrooms, but ayahuasca, ibogaine. There's so many. Have you done ayahuasca? I haven't, but I really want to. I actually I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I have to be honest, I want to do it the right way, which is like go into the Amazon rainforest, and I just don't have 3 weeks to do a dieta and go into the rainforest and leave my family.
And that's the right way to do it. You don't go for a weekend, do ayahuasca and come home.
I wouldn't recommend it. People do, and there's really, wonderful people that serve it that way. Just for me, I feel like I want to do it the right way.
And I do think it's important to say that if you are having any of the thoughts you mentioned, but you should contact a doctor. Like if you are feeling suicidal, or if you are feeling
absolutely
overwhelmed, like
get your MD.
It's call your doctor right away. Like
we're learning so much, and there's so much support out there.
I just don't want people to go off and just go get something, I think it's important that they actually go and talk to their doctor to let them know what they're doing in life.
100%.
Okay, so
what else?
No, I have to go pick up my kid. So I have to end this, but where can we find out more about all of this?
She is just dying. She is just dying to know more. She wants to do more. She wants to have more.
You're feeling, I always say, man, like the mushrooms, again, I had a teacher that calls them the little children of light, little beings of light. And I say, when you're feeling the call of mushrooms, like they just show up at your door with their little mushroom suitcases, and all you got to do is open the door, and they just come in. They're like, all right, we're going to get to work. We're going to fix mom. And so you can, if you're a mom and you're interested in just having a shared experience around this, then come visit us. We're moms.
Are you on them right now? Are you on them right now?
I did not microdose today. No.
Okay. Sorry, moms@mushrooms.com.
Moms on mushrooms. MOS. Moms on mushrooms.
And I kind of just feel like this is just the beginning, because people are talking about it, but not everybody knows everything you know about it. So
yep, and education is the most important thing. This is not a magic pill. This is not something that's going to fix your life overnight. And this is a lot of unlearning. But I think for women especially, this is something that brings us back to our intuition. And I
think she has chocolate on her ankle.
I do have chocolate on my ankle.
What the fuck is on your ankle?
I emptied all my chocolate onto my things, and there it is. So there we go.
Oh God, I keep talking to you. I can DM you. But my friend also said that she prefers to do her mushrooms when she in chocolate and eats it in chocolate.
So my favorite is, you can buy it.
Well, then I'd have a problem. I would overdose for sure.
Yeah. I know. I think I like being a little bit more like specific and measuring it out.
Yeah.
I have capsules, and I like to drink mine. I just think drinking it slows it down. So I put mine in cacao, and which is kind of like really good natural hot chocolate. And that way I'm sipping it over a half hour or so, and then slowly entering my body, and it's delicious.
How long does it take to kick in?
Between 30 minutes to an hour, again, depending on your metabolism, what you've had that
and you
day.
should know when it's there. You're like, oh, it's because Laura was like, is it working?
She said it's
is
like
it working?
coffee.
Oh, you don't know.
Like it's kind of like when you have a cup of coffee. That's like the best way to describe it. But I think over time, I think we're so conditioned to consume these like big boom things. And this is really slow medicine. And that's why, our course we have a 3.5 month course, because I really do think it takes about 3 months to create a relationship with it, learn about it, and feel it and see it working. And at the end of the courses, everyone will go around and talk about like, oh, we look at like what we wrote in our journals at the first time, the first day versus the last. And I've had women just be like, oh, yeah, I didn't think it was working, but I guess, I stopped taking my Zoloft, and I haven't really had a drink in like a month and a half, and I'm having sex with my husband again. Like, it's like, you don't really even, you're not having this like, you're just kind of smoothing out. You're smoothing out and kind of becoming the best version of yourself. And you just feel supported all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. That sounds lovely.
Sounds like a great best friend.
I know. Thank you for sharing with us, and we'll link everything so people can find out more.
Yeah.
And is there a place they can go to find to buy it, or just do your own research?
Do your own research.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Oh
Tracey.
my God, that was
guys.
so good.
Appreciate it. Thank you.